Happy Friday, everybody. Let's see who we've got here. Hey, Annette the Cow Emporium, good to see you. Here we go again, Spartman. Here we go again. Hello, Spartman. Hey, Troy Sutton, good to see you. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's hanging in there with the weather and whatever's going on in your neck of the woods. It's cold here. Cold. Spartman, how cold is it by you? So the weather app says 23, feels like 17, so it's more like probably 20. Heard the roads are very slippery out. Oh, did you get some, is it melting and refreezing, or did you get some precipitation? Tim says 25. Yeah, I'm sure the roads are slick because, there's that melting and freezing and all that stuff. Hey, about 6 acres. Good to see you guys. Melt, refreeze, Spartan said, okay. And this week, Nick at About 6 Acres had a birthday. So happy birthday to Nick at About 6 Acres. Hope he had a good one. The melt refreeze, I tell you, that goes on for a while. Although I will say here in South Dakota, it does not seem to go on as long as it did in Connecticut. In Connecticut, it felt like it went on for weeks after a snowstorm. So it's crazy. You guys have a good week. You're very welcome. Snow and wind tomorrow again. Yeah, it's always the wind, right? Always the wind. We know someone who plows, and he was saying that, his weather app doesn't show snow in the forecast, and yet he was being notified that they may have to plow. So we're kind of like, is it coming? And we don't know. But hey, Holman's Homestead. Hey, Ariella, good to see you guys. I just saw that they were talking 1 to 3 inches for the northern Black Hills. So that's like Lead, Deadwood, up that area. Hey, Robert Nelson, good to see you. Hope you're doing well, Red. But yeah, I thought we would talk, speaking of challenges, I figured we would talk homestead challenges tonight. And if anybody has a great idea for a topic, feel free to email me, message me on Instagram, leave a comment down below the live, whatever works for you. I would love to hear what you want to talk about, because sometimes it's a struggle to come up with ideas. So that being said, let's get into it. Hey, Carla, good to see you, Go Rogue. Hope you're doing well. Holman's Homestead does have some good Christmas cooking vids, I tell you. I'm a little behind. I got to get caught up. We've been trying to get some things done here, but that's why I have no videos, because it's like indoor, nothing fun stuff, if that makes sense. Nothing real homesteadish. Just normal stuff you got to do, right? And quite honestly, it's been cold out, and so we'll see. I have not opened the greenhouse to see the cabbage since a week ago. I opened it a week or so ago. So it did not look good when I opened it before the -14. I don't even want to look at it now, but I figured, we'll just leave it alone, see how it does, right? But we will see. So let's jump right into it. By the way, Lisa Clovey is off tonight. She's got some stuff going on, so can't post links tonight. So sorry, guys, but I'm sure you'll forgive me because she's always here. So the 11 hardest homesteading challenges. I will be curious if you agree with all of these. So there's 11 of them. So the initial investment, and so let's assume you have land, right? A lot of us had land or were on land, but however, some people have to buy land. So that right there is huge. I was just telling somebody earlier tonight that if more interest rates were lower and property prices were lower, we would have more land. But right now, not happening. Because at our age, it is just not worth it or feasible to take on a huge mortgage, and we don't care to. So initial investments: purchase land, build essential infrastructure like a house, barn, fences, acquire equipment and livestock. The initial financial outlay can be daunting, but it's an investment in your self-sufficient future. Of course, the person writing this says that, and I agree with it, but they're not paying your bills. So only you can decide if it's good for you. Good for you, Ariella. I'm so glad. Good for you. Congratulations and keep doing well. So it says to overcome this challenge, start small, use what you have. One of the first additions to our homestead was chickens. We used an old building on our property as a chicken coop instead of buying or building something new. It's ugly and less than ideal, but it's served its purpose for 8 years now, and eventually they'll upgrade it. When we moved here, we had the main chicken coop, and the indoor run was there. We had to add the outdoor run because originally they had the chickens going out the back part of the coop. So there were 2 coops next to each other and they had a back run. So we dismantled the back run, moved the one building over, which used to be the turkey coop, which housed all different animals: pigs, turkeys, meat chickens, little flock of chickens that we were adding in, waiting till they got larger. It was a true multi-purpose building. Really was. We had Hank and, if you're newer, we had Hank and Waylon in that building last year or the year before. And then we eventually sold it just because the building was kind of near the end. We had reinforced it, but we just decided we didn't want it anymore. So, and then it says 2, the next challenge is time intensive. Homesteading is not a 9-to-5 job. It's a way of life. We all know this. You know, the bottom line is, y'all know there's no sick days. There's no, I don't feel like doing this today kind of thing. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm not going to belabor that point because I think we all get it, especially this time of year. Because if you know, you know, chores take longer in winter. And if you have really cold weather, you know darn well you're probably out more than in checking on animals. So it's not like there's a luxury of just staying inside. Exactly, Holman. You guys are exactly right. Yes, you do. About 6 acres. Yes, you do. You know, and obviously you're choosing to, you know, if you're choosing to travel, you need to get somebody to watch your animals. I know for us, we've chosen not to. We traveled more when we were younger. And so that was our decision. I've asked people to watch the animals twice, and that was when we only had, well, we had chickens and pigs. So I know one time we went to Montana when we first moved, and the chicks were little and they just went out in the coop, and I had a friend come lock them up at night. And the only other time was when my mom passed away and we had to drive to North Carolina, and we had to take Diesel with us because we didn't want to leave Diesel. Because you know, he's a bulldog and he's a rescue and he's got some issues. And so we felt the farm was enough for people. And at that time we had pigs. So somebody had to come twice a day while they were working, which was really nice of them to do that. Thank you, Ariel. I really appreciate it. We're really excited about what we've accomplished. It's nice to look back now. I remember when we first started, it was like, oh, we just have chickens. Nothing going on here. Oh, thanks, Ariel. Red, which is Robert Nelson 607, said, I'm currently River Rat Homestead, soon to be Nelson Homestead. Me and my oldest son are buying 20 plus acres in Iowa. Exciting. Enjoy. He whose name shall not be spoken. That's right. That's right. He's such an old man curmudgeon, I tell you. So number 3 on the learning, I'm sorry, I'll get back to that. I just saw a comment. Our Holman's Homestead said our vacation is going every 2 weeks right now to the feed store. Yes, exactly. Our feed store is not I think our feed store is about 45 minutes one way from us for the pig feed, and we get 6 bags at a time. So it's like 80 and 80 is 160. 420 pounds of feed at a time we get. And that usually lasts us a lot longer than a month, but right now it's about a month because of the littles that we're raising. Because Norman, Grant, and Eleanor and Fiona, they get a maintenance feed. It's the same feed, but it's a maintenance amount or ration. And then the littles are getting more than the adults. So they're getting double what the adults get because they're growing. So we go through pig feed pretty quick. Number 3 on the list of challenges is learning curve. Homesteading involves a diverse range of skills from animal husbandry to crop cultivation and food preservation. The learning curve can be steep, particularly if you're new to these practices. Oh, how I can relate to that. Because you got to realize we're almost 6 years now doing this. So it was all new in the beginning. Never canned, never freeze dried, never did a lot of preservation, didn't do a lot of these things. So all new, never had pigs, never had chickens. Holman said, we have 2 in town, but we can drive 45 minutes away and save $2 to $4 a bag. I agree. We have 1 in town. And to speak to that point, I'm not going to speak to feed. I'm going to speak to shavings. So pine shavings for like a Tractor Supply used to be like 5 something when we moved out here. And we started using them for the chickens. And the same ones at Tractor Supply are, I think, but they're between $8 and $9. I looked the other day. I think it's between $8 and $9. That's a lot in a short amount of time, in my opinion. And now we eliminated shavings this year because we were able to get a round bale of straw. So we're using, well, it's oat hay or something like that. And we're using that because I was able to get a good deal on it. And same thing for the alfalfa bales, right? I was able to get a good deal on them. Whereas unbelievable how much we were spending in shavings before. So anyway, we started traveling to our feed store, and the hardware store in town has shavings. Guess how much they are a bag right in town? Oh, it is so fun to learn all the self-sufficient ways. Oh, I agree. It's so satisfying. Absolutely. But it is intimidating at first. So the bags of shavings right in town, because sometimes I need 2 to do my coop when I clean it. Last time I did it, I forgot. I thought I had 2 bags. I only had 1, and I didn't want them pooping on the floor. So I went into town to buy 1 bag. It was like $11.72. That's a huge difference. So no, thank you. Then the next challenge, number 4, is isolation. Many homesteads are situated in rural or remote areas, which can lead to social isolation, access to amenities, services, social interactions may be limited. Exactly why I chose this life. um, but for us, that's why we live in the town that we live in, is because at our age, we wanted one that had a hospital in town, and we are a couple minutes from it. We're right near town, yet we're not in town. And so, I've talked about it a million times, how if you're not where we are, right, you go a little bit further out of town, it gets a lot more isolated, but you also struggle to get possible well water. So we are thrilled with where we are, because it just is perfect for us. Do they give you a jar at that price? No, they don't, Spartman. They don't. And I know exactly what you mean. I agree. Crazy. Red says, I get wood chips from local tree companies clearing power lines for free. That's awesome. That's awesome. We have a lot of pine trees, so the problem is there's not a lot of wood chips. It's only the trunk. The rest of it is nothing but needles that go in the chipper and come out looking the same. But yeah, I would love to get a hold of some real wood chips. That would be awesome. But we're starting deep bedding now for the winter. If you have chickens, they poop all the time. That's all you deal with is droppings. And for us, one of the challenges is it's frozen. Like right now, everything under the roofs is frozen. There is no way I can shovel it out. Next week, we are forecast for a couple days in the 40s. Chances of it defrosting during that time, probably not going to happen. But I'm going to try to pickaxe it away and start the deep litter and just add in. I just like to scoop under the roosts to keep it cleaner longer. Hey, Mountain Grandma, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So number 5 is weather challenges. What do we think about weather challenges being a challenge to homesteading? I know I can relate to that. I'm sure y'all can too. Whether it's, cold or too hot, flooding, wind, all that kind of stuff. That'll be great, Ariella. Oh, New England is a beautiful location. Oh, I love Maine and New Hampshire too. I really love Maine. We had originally just said we were going to move to Maine and ended up in South Dakota. Life turned. What can I say? No, Spartman, YouTube will not allow you to say what you truly think. And I appreciate you speaking very kindly on my channel. I really respect that. So Homan's Homestead said, mud, and more mud out here right now. Oh, and then your mud will go to freeze, right? We don't have mud. We have snow. The snow has been here since last Friday. It has not gone anywhere. It is so, in fact, it's not even wet snow. It's so dry. It's unbelievable. About 6 acres said huge. It enables or prevents progress from happening. Yes, it is. Yes, it does. I agree. I mean, that's the thing. It's really like we have to get out there and do some stuff, and we need to do and all that kind of thing. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes, you try to put something off because you see what the weather is going to be like, the chicken coop, right? If it's going to be 40 and 45, I'm going to try to go out that day and do it. And the reason why is because, like I said, I got to make sure the manure defrosts so I can actually remove it. Otherwise, I can't remove it. I have to use like a shingle scraper, if that makes sense, a roof shingle scraper to get under it. I can't just shovel it out. And we have that in the pig yard too, right? Because if it freezes to the ground and then you can't remove it. So yes, the thaws and slick mud. Yes, no kidding. No kidding. Carla said, besides being uncomfortable, can have a huge impact on produce production. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you could have years where things do well, and then you can have years where you get an early frost, or you get a hot summer where it scalds all your tomatoes and that kind of thing. Mountain Grandma said, I just watched Annette's video and she said it was negative 29 there. Yep. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, let's see what the next one is. Let's see. Self-reliance. While self-reliance is a core goal of homesteading, it can also be a source of stress. You must be prepared to handle emergencies and unexpected challenges without easy access to outside help. Learning self-sufficiency is a part of the journey. Having a network of neighbors or community members that will support you in an emergency is a great backup. We've talked about this before. We've talked about community sufficiency, right? Because we can't all grow everything we need. So sometimes it's better to have community sufficiency where you're growing something while your neighbor's growing something different and sharing it, kind of thing, or bartering for it. So I think that's a really helpful thing too. Tell me what you guys think of this list so far. So far we have covered, hang on, I'm scrolling back. Initial investment, time intensive, learning curve, isolation, weather challenges, and self-reliance. I think that some of the things that blow my mind, and I get it, I'm just trying to think how to say it. About 6 acres, so they are definitely spot on with challenges. Most of ours fall in those categories. Yep. Carla said, sounds pretty comprehensive to me. I agree. I agree. I think the thing that I struggle with, and I think it's because of my personality. You know how when you hear people talk about, and I'm not saying it's bad, but you know when you hear people talk about like they're so intimidated that they don't do something? I struggle with that. Meaning, what's the worst that can happen? You don't do well. Like for me, it's not the end of the world, but I get that it could be for others. I just something that I struggle with. Like you see all the time where people talk about not wanting to start sourdough or soap making. And I'll speak from experience, right? Because Tammy, Mountain Grandma, and I do a live on Tuesdays and we talk about goal setting and we try to encourage people to get out there and just do something, like not be paralyzed by fear. And I remember, for those of you who may not have been following way back when, we started this homestead because of my fear and my concerns for what was going on in the world in 2020, right? We moved out here to South Dakota in January, and by a few months later, the world was up in arms with everything that was going on. Now, the world had been insane long before that. However, this was something unprecedented for my lifetime. And so I looked at Ryan and just said, we need to get chickens. We need to get chickens. We need to start building and raising animals. We need to do this. We need to take more control of our food supply, because it's ridiculous that there are things not on the shelf. We need to start taking control and being prepared. So it was sort of like a homestead / prep kind of thing. And it was, we need to have this stuff because this is really getting ridiculous. And we did it. And, we could only do so much at a time. We were both working more than full time. We were both working probably about 80 hours a week and then coming home and doing stuff. And for the first 2 years, all we did was work and then come home and work on the land and all the infrastructure and stuff like that. And but I never feared that we would fail. I never feared that we would fail. I just did it, I guess. I don't know how to, am I making sense? We just did it because we knew we needed to do something different, and so with soap making, I made 3 batches of soap that were horrible. They would not harden up. And I realized that I had the wrong lye. But I wasn't intimidated by soap making. I wasn't intimidated that I failed. But you know what? I'll never forget what lye I need. Because here's the funny story of it. I made 3 batches of soap, was very excited about it. Each time, it was spread out over time. Each time I made it. Mind you, my friend, Casey at Ormsby Farms, sent me a link to the lye that he used. So I went on Amazon and looked around for the lye. Now, if you've ever gone into a grocery store and you went to pick up 2 cans of green beans and you got home and you had a can of green beans and a can of peas, that's what happened to me. I got looking at the link he sent me, and instead of just ordering it directly, I got looking around at other items. And I bought lye and thought it was the same exact lye, but it wasn't. It was the other one for soft soap. The only way I realized it was because Mountain Grandma was talking one day on the live and was talking about the 2 different kinds of lye, and a bulb went off in my head, and that solved my entire issue. I'm going to go back to the chat for a minute here. If you fail, that is a learning experience. I agree. And you don't make that mistake again. That's what I love about those lessons. You don't make that mistake again because you know better and you remember it. About 6 acres said starting was the hardest thing for us, but once we decided, we were anticipating it would be hard, but determined to trust and succeed. Yes. There's always going to be ups and downs. Always. Homan's Homestead said, we always had a garden, but when I stopped at the grocery store after work on that Tuesday and the shelves were empty, that was a wake-up call. Agreed. It's a huge wake-up call. Hey, Annette at the Cow Emporium, good to see you. That's right, Tammy. Thanks. I did make a good liquid soap. Hey, Misty Diane, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Carla at Go Rogue says it takes a certain mindset to want to homestead. Sometimes it's easier to say you don't want to fail than to just admit that you don't have any interest or just don't want to try. That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, I got scared. And it's funny because I've never been the one to be like that. I always took things for granted, I guess you could say, when it came to that department. And I just said, we need to do this. We need to do this. And he agreed, and we both did it. Tammy is a smart lady. Hey, Rebecca, Touched by Yarn, good to see you. So yeah, so it's like, like I made a jalapeno cheddar sourdough loaf one time. I made it with cowboy candy, actually, because I found out I was not a fan of it. I made a small jar of it, and I wasn't a fan of it. So I said, I'm going to put that in a loaf with with cheddar and see how it goes. And I'd made sourdough before, and it was totally the worst loaf that I've ever made in my entire life. It was dense, it was horrible, it was so overly spicy, it was ridiculous. But hey, it's all good. You just keep moving on, right? Hey, Leftover Homestead. I get it, Misty. No worries at all. Thanks for being here. Hey, Annie at Our Frugal Cozy Home. Happy 25th anniversary. What a wonderful, wonderful thing to celebrate. I hope you have a wonderful time. Thanks, Holman's Homestead. Have a nice weekend. But yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so the next one is financial uncertainty. So for those of you who just came in, I'm just going to recap we're doing the 11 hardest homesteading challenges according to this person. Initial investment, time intensive, learning curve, isolation, weather challenges, self-reliance, and now we're up to financial uncertainty. So, a lot of people work outside the home and then have to come home and do this work on top of it. That's a lot. It's doable, but it's a lot, and you have to be committed to it. Otherwise, it's going to be a resentment for you. That's just reality. But definitely, so that's why we try to use what we have and be frugal about it. That's why we look at auctions, even when we're not doing a project, because you never know, you might see something that you could use down the line, which is real important. Leftover Homestead said, we did cowboy candy the first canning year 2 years ago. Andrew took it to work. Yeah, it was a bit much for me. Me and you are probably the only people who don't like it, but that's okay. If you're looking on a bigger level, sort of like the Cow Emporium, right, where they're ranchers and they have, cattle, they have a herd of cattle, and they need equipment, they need tractors, they need parts and all that. That's some big dollar items, right? Because you got combines, combine parts and all that. I'm not going to pretend to know about all that. I just know that it is pricey. Have you seen the prices on big equipment lately? Heck, even that stuff goes for a lot of money used. Here's the one I really want to talk about. Physical demands is the next challenge. Physical demands. So if you think about a lot of us who started this in midlife, so to speak, so I mean, I was, 50 when we started this, or almost, yeah, 51, I think. Yeah, 51. So we're aging. Um, and the reality of it is as we get older, things start to decline and you take care of yourself the best you can and all that. I know that. But the reality of it is it's something to think about, setting things up so that it works as you get older. So that's a big thing to consider too, because I can assure you, um, climbing over the hog panels, I used to like hop right over them when we had piglets to show people the piglets and all this kind of stuff. This year it was getting a little harder to hop over those hog panels, and I was walking through the gate. So it's definitely something different. Nick agrees physical demands is the worst, but he lost weight. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But even so, as we're getting older, it gets harder. Like I said, there were things that I did when I was 50 and now I'm 57, and it's kind of like, you know, um, but yeah, it was funny for the time that we've had that front raised bed garden. We never had a gate. We had a gate, but it was not a technical gate. It was sort of like a panel that was bungeed shut. And I finally looked at Mr. Yogi Hollow and said, I need a gate because I can't keep climbing over that darn thing anymore. I know. I don't want to talk about feeling old either. I don't. It's just a fact, man. But I tell you, I've got the raised bed that I got from Vajiga Beds. I love that thing because it's tall enough, you know, it's tall enough. That's right. And Misty at Leftover Home said she's got physical limitations from her accident. So thank goodness for Andrew, but it's not easy. That's right. All right. Now we're up to number 10. Takes a few days to recover after doing projects. He had knee surgery years ago. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have horrible knees, so I totally can relate to that. It takes a while, you know. I remember when we used to do projects, we would be like sun up to sundown and the project would be done. That was how we rolled, right? Now we're like, we'll go out and work on it for a couple hours. We'll come back in. Just because it's like, it's rough, you know? I mean, I remember when we cut all those trees down, right? There were over 50 trees that we cut down. And it's a lot of work moving those logs and everything. And so we were pulling them with tractors and all that. And we were making multiple piles for the person to come pick it up because we were like, we're not killing ourselves. That's a lot of work. Breaks are necessary. They sure are. We need to work on building muscle because it's dissolving on us. No kidding. No kidding, Tammy. So number 10 is long-term commitment. Annette says each season seems to use different muscles. I can't keep up. It sure is. It sure is. 50 trees is a lot of work. Look, I'm going to be honest, Juana, one tree is a lot of work. There are two things that I can't stand doing. Tree and brushwork is one of them. What's the other one? I'm just drawing a blank. Tree and brushwork. We used to have to move brush piles for my mother in upstate New York, and I was like, whatever. And cleaning the chicken coop after winter with the deep bedding. I hate deep bedding. It's necessary in the winter, but I hate it because it's with our winters, there's a lot of months there. That's a lot of bedding. But I would rather clean the chicken coop than I would deal with trees and brush. We even put fencing up in 98-degree weather, which is not often here. But we were out there putting up fencing and there was no complaining. I'm just glad those trees are gone. More need to go, but we can't. It's just the ones that need to go are too close to the house. And oh, I don't want to pay for that because that is expensive and makes me so angry. So long-term commitment. Let's talk about long-term commitment. What are some of the long-term commitments on a homestead? Carla at Go Rogue said my health issues put a total stop to all of my homestead efforts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have to take care of your health. You absolutely have to take care of your health. I mean, if you think about it, it takes a long time to develop soil for growing. Leftover Homestead said chickens can live a long time. Yep. Pigs are 15 to 20 years. Annette says the projects that need done but stay when you sell. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a long-term commitment. There's a lot of things that need to be done. And so I'll give you an example of long-term commitment. So we started with chickens in 2020. That was May. And we started building our infrastructure. We started with the coop, gutting all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's really not about the chickens. The following the following January in 2021, we had 2 pigs. And our intent was to raise them for meat and butcher them and have enough meat to get through until we had our kuni pigs breeding and grow it out and in the freezer. What ended up happening was we then got Sherman in March of 2021. We got Eleanor and Fiona in May of 2021. We ended up getting Grant, who was unexpected, in September, October of 21. We then had to wait for everybody to be about a year old and breed. And so we had everybody bred in 2022. And Sherman, because Grant was too young, we had Sherman breed the 2 girls. And we ended up with 2 litters. Everything was fine. And then we ended up with Norman. Right? How do we get Norman? We sold all the other piglets. We kept Norman and Oliver. Oliver passed away during castration, and we had Norman. Little teeny tiny runt. So there we were, still not having anything in the freezer because we waited till the next year, 2023, to have pigs to raise. So you see how it goes. It just, things go out there. So it took us a few years to get the whole thing down pat, is what I'm saying. Now, if we were a larger ranch, right, or a different homestead, we would have sold the pigs that are when we were not happy with the outcome. We could have got different sows. But instead we sold the boar. And so we reduced our numbers that way. I'll never forget watching Ryan moving the barn. That video was gold, Lisa. Thanks, Ariel. Yeah, he's moved a bunch of barns, I tell you. Unbelievable. Cow Emporium has 2 9-year-old chickens. Wow. We got more chickens this year because ours are older and haven't been laying enough. That's smart because we didn't add any this year and it's showing. So we need to think real hard if we're going to continue selling eggs or if we are considering moving to a 1 breed flock over time. In other words, we would have 1 dual purpose breed in there so that we could hatch them and butcher them, and we can hatch them and have eggs all the time. That's what we're considering versus giving up all the colors and all that nonsense, just moving to something more practical. So I don't know what breed we will get. We've looked around. I've looked at a bunch of them. My holdout is my husband because he really likes the Cornish cross because the flavor in the meat is just unbelievable. We need to add, but we are under restriction due to a petty neighbor. Oh, I'm sorry. Hope to build on our acreage someday. That'll be great. Keeping the best interests of our animals at heart means that we have to go through those uncomfortable periods. We didn't plan on 12 goats. Yeah. So because you mentioned that, and I won't get into your situation, I'll get into ours. We had the first year that the pigs had litters were fine. The second year, we had something like, oh, let me think. How many did we have? I think we had 15 piglets total, 15 extra mouths to feed. Exciting, right? No big deal. We sold them. I will tell you though, I was very nervous that year about being stuck with 15 pigs and how we were going to butcher them all if we didn't sell them, because that's what we would have done. And I remember thinking 15 pigs. That's not including Norman, Grant, Fiona, Eleanor. That's just 15 piglets. So then the year after, we had 2, which was Piggly and Wiggly, which were sold because I had them on a waiting list. And everybody said, oh my gosh, such a small litter. That's awful. And I said, praise God, because the market is flooded. I was lucky to sell all those piglets. Two people took 6 each. Okay. That's not common. Talk about a blessing. So when we had the litter this year and they were small again, which I've talked about before, we think it's due to the fact that he's in with 2 sows and he's not having enough time to regenerate his sperm and all that stuff like that. I'm still considering it a blessing. Not having to sell animals right now is a blessing to me. If we would have had 4, we would have kept them all totally manageable, totally able to feed them and do what you need to do. But that's why we've got those 2, Willie and Johnny, in with the girls right now, because we wanted them housed together until the summer. When the summer comes, they will be separated. But we knew, being a rough winter and being young, we wanted them with the girls because they all huddle in and keep each other warm. And life is good. You don't have to worry about them. Minus 14 the other day, they were fine. They've got to be over 50 pounds by now. These boys are huge. So, yeah. So, I mean, you have those uncomfortable periods and you don't plan on having so many animals. Well, hey, Lisa Colovi, good to see you. I told everybody you were off tonight, busy doing your thing. So you just do what you got to do, boo thing. Let's get to the last one, okay? Here's the key. What do you think the last one is? So I'm going to regroup all of these. So initial investment, time intensive, learning curve, isolation, weather challenges, self-reliance, financial uncertainty, physical demands. Sorry, I skipped one. Regulatory issues. I don't think we have to say a lot about that, but people need to stay out of our business as homesteaders. Just going to say that. But you do have to watch where you are because there could be regulations against having certain animals on your property. I think is a given for everybody who's here. If I've missed that and it's something you didn't know, feel free to email me and I'll explain it to you. But long-term commitment and Leftovers says facts. What do you think is the last challenge? What do you think is something homesteaders are always trying to achieve to maintain sanity? Let's put it that way. I'm going to see if you guys can guess it. I got gray hair hanging out all over here. I'm curious. Something you need to achieve. Oh, Spart man, you crack me up. Keeping enough liquor supplied. That too. Having fun. Yep. Yep. So think about, what do you call that when there's work and having fun and keeping enough liquor supplied? And downtime. What do we call that across all of that? Finding a what? You got work. Yeah, balance. Balance. It's all about balance, right? I love that you guys came up with this organization storage. It's awesome. Yep, all about balance, right? You've got to find that life balance and keep your sanity. You know, Miyagi say balance. Balance is important. Um, you know, as someone who, I'm trying to think of how to say this without saying it the bad way because YouTube won't like it. As somebody who could go, 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 go and get it all done, that's a sure way to kill yourself early. You know, burn yourself out, make yourself sick. You've got to find balance. And that's a hard part. Sometimes I find a little too much balance, and I find that I like self-care a lot. I like doing my hobbies this time of year. So I get what I need to get done, and then I spend a little more time than I need to on my self-care. But then there's also times that I'm on fire and I will get a ton of it done. That's just how I operate, because I used to be go, go, go all the time. And I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. When I have to put an appointment in my calendar, I'm outraged because I had to live by a calendar at work where I had meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, and it was just horrible. It was just horrible living with that for so long. So I think it's important to find balance. What do you do for your self-care? That's what I want to know. What do you do for your self-care to keep things in check? Because homesteading is emotional. Homesteading takes a toll on you, whether it's from injuries or hurting yourself or working so hard that you're sore and all that kind of stuff. What do you do? And then you go to work on top of it. So what do you do for self-care? Cook. Annette loves to cook, and she cooks some good food. Let me tell you. Oh my gosh. Oh, I drool watching her cook. I do. I salivate. She inspires me so much. I like to all kinds of things, fiber. I have to get back to spinning. But I like to crochet. I like to knit now. I'm getting better at it. Not great, but getting better. I like to make soap. I like to and I am not a person who likes to cook, but here's the kicker. If I'm making, I like to be able to make something during the day, like say a lasagna, a baked ziti. And then what I do is I love putting stuff up in the freezer, like making meals that go in the freezer. You know, Misty said therapy once a month, and I go to red light therapy in the winter for help with body aches and pains. That is great that you do that. Oh, I love therapy. Love therapy. I love the red light therapy too. That's cool. I've never done it, but I've heard such good things about it. You are sweet. Oh, you're welcome. I think anything that creates a state of flow really helps me relax. Yep, I agree. I agree. So we hit an auction the other day. I just want to show this to you. We hit an auction the other day, and this was not what we were looking for. But we go to the auction, and Mr. Yogi Hollow's got all this stuff, and we're picking up for our neighbor, our friend, and all that. And we're picking up everything. And Ryan won this lot. And so it's a Longaberger basket. A Longaberger basket that is stamped 2000. This is a 25-year-old basket. Longaberger. So it's an antique, technically. And it's got this division, little wooden divided stuff. And it had a bunch of utensils in it. I am going to use it for my yarn and stuff, which I thought was really cool. But it was the silliest little thing that was in that auction lot that I really didn't care about, I'll be honest. Made my husband happy. That was cool. But this made me happy because it's just a perfect little basket. What made him happy? He bought some vintage Pyrex dishes, like the old divided kind with the glass covers. One of which we saw was being sold for $75 on eBay. Not the reason why we bought it. He bought it because it just reminded him of growing up, and he had to have them. Isn't that funny? Just silly little things that make you happy. About 6 Acres says we take Sundays off, go to church, rest, watch sports, nap, take a walk, just things that enjoy. I love that. That is so important. Misty said it's helped with the winter blues, which was unexpected. That's good. I'm glad. Hang in there because December 21st is coming. Not that I'm rushing it, but that's the winter solstice and we will start to get lighter again. And I always celebrate that day because it's going to start getting lighter again. So yeah, so it's all about balance, my friends. Well, I hope you enjoyed our discussion tonight. Wasn't exactly amazing, but I share it. And again, if anyone has ideas for topics that they want to hear more about, they want to learn more about, just want to discuss in general, please feel free to leave a comment under this video, message me on Instagram, email me at yogihollowfarm20@gmail.com. And I am happy to use it as a Friday Night Live discussion. Yeah, thank goodness. I do look forward to to that as well. I have to say, Annette, though, and you and I have talked about this, considering the fact that we had a long fall and we both had a long fall, it really makes a difference in how long our winter is going to be. So I'm like, even though it's cold this week and I'm not happy about it because I'm just adjusting and acclimating to it, I'm not downright angry like I sometimes am with it being so dark. I swear it could be cold, but as long as it's light out until 6 o'clock, I'd be fine. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you all being here and spending some time with me. So love to you all and have a great weekend. Take care. See you next week.